So I want to welcome you all as usual this morning, bright and early. Good to see you. Excuse me. So a couple of quick things. As always, want to thank our sponsors, Care First Health Plan, Satellite Broadcasting Association, United Way Valley of the Sun, Khajiit, Triad, and looking for more sponsors. You're all going to be hearing from me pretty shortly about needing to have some funding to continue the work of the task force. So again, just a reminder, if you haven't done so, to please complete our database and contacts list so that we have your full contact information, phone numbers, email, and organization and title, and that kind of good stuff. Again, just a reminder that we have been using this auto transcription service for our meetings. It's still not perfect. It's better than what we were doing with Zoom, but I've been trying to do some of the corrections, but it just takes a huge amount of time. But anyway, I just want to let you know, just a reminder that we are doing that. Next thing is, please make sure if you have any announcements, any events coming up, or anything that you want to share with others, please put it into the chat with any links, phone numbers, contact information, etc., because I do try to capture that information and include it in the email announcements that go out. So if you would like to have anything included, please do that. It makes it much easier for me to be able to capture that information and put it into our announcement. So next thing, just quickly, tomorrow, unfortunately, I'm having major oral surgery, so I may be out of it for a few days. So just wanted to let you know. Of course, I will be available by email and text and so forth, but maybe not so much by phone. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that. Isn't that fun? So I'm going to do a little bit of a change in the agenda this morning and have a section now for us to, there's a number of events that are coming up that our folks are engaged in some way, shape, or form. So I wanted to start with that. Although this is not something that is particularly engaging for this group, but on September the 13th, there'll be the 13th annual Arizona Technology Summit at the Phoenix Convention Center. It'll be free with an admission code, and I will send that out. I have been in touch with them about having some kind of a workshop, but I don't know that we're going to pull that off by September the 13th. But if any of you are interested, just FYI, that event is really targeted. I mean, frankly, it's a sales event. They have lots of exhibitors and lots of sponsors, but they really want to focus on IT people, folks who can buy technology. So they don't really encourage teachers and so forth. But one of their primary focus is on cybersecurity. And so they will be having some presentations on cybersecurity and have been having some conversation about whether we could do some kind of a workshop or something with some of our people on cybersecurity and digital inclusion. So I'll keep you abreast of that. Don't know if that's going to happen with the amount of time we have left to do that. Anyway, just wanted to let you know that. Next is October 19th. Is the 10th annual Southern Arizona Tech and Business Expo. Carla, are you online yet? Apparently not. Anyway, that event is a big event. I've attended the last few years, plan to be there, and we're hoping that we may have an exhibit table. It's a great opportunity to reach out to key business and technology companies. While it certainly is for Southern Arizona, but it really is statewide. And that event is actually put on in conjunction with the Tech Council and ACA. So it's a great event, and really encourage you all to attend. You'll be getting more links and information about that event coming up. And again, I don't think Carla's online yet. related to that, and since she's not here also, and maybe Kirk or Mark, you want to talk about on September the 8th, the Technology Council will have their 6th annual Smart City and IoT conference. Kirk or Mark, do you want to say anything about that?
Go ahead, Kirk. You've been on the program group for that. If you're there.
But you have to unmute, Kirk.
I am here. Yes, September 8th, and a big focus on the new electric vehicle programs and the electric vehicle committee that the Tech Council will be forming soon. And we've got a good panel also on digital inclusion. So, and I think Carla was working on getting us a code for this group.
Yes, she did say that. She did say that last week, yes.
But I'll stay on top of that this week too and make sure that code gets out to the AZBSN crowd. And I think we were trying to squeeze a table too for you, Steve, but I'm not sure how easy that'll be.
Yeah.
But it's September 8th. It's a half-day thing from like noon to 5, and
it's actually noon to 6. There's a reception, I believe, from 5 to 6.
Oh, perfect. And then it's at the venue 8600 up in North Scottsdale. So we'll get information out on that as soon as possible.
Yeah, so I'll be sending out my follow-up to this meeting in the next couple of days, and it does have the link to that information. And if we do get a discount, then I'll include that also.
And while we're on this subject, 2 other STEM-related events. Sharika's adult STEM party at the AZ Science Center is also the day after, the evening after, Friday, September 9th. I don't know if Sharika's on right now and she wants to expand
and she's on
that.
The agenda to make an announcement here. So while you get that lead in, Sharika, why don't you give us a quickie update?
No problem. Thanks, Kurt, for the intro. Yes, if you are wanting to come out and be a kid again, we are having our adult STEM party at the Arizona Science Center on September 9th from 6 to 8. There will be beverages for the adults, alcoholic beverages, as well as light snacks, but you will go home with activities that you created as well. So it's going to be hands-on, just like what we do for the kids. And this is our very first fundraiser. So we're excited. We would love for you all to come. Tickets, I will drop the link in the chat, but if not, we can also always take donations. So hope to see you there. It's going to be fun.
Great. Thanks, Sharika. As always, you do some great stuff for kids.
Hey, Steve, also, I'm not sure if Kelly Green's on. Kelly, are you on? Because also September 27th is the big AZ STEM Summit in conjunction with the Science Center, with the SciTech Institute and the Arizona Science Center, and the STEM Summit on September 27th, which is an all-day event, also at the Arizona Science Center. So I don't know if that's on the agenda or if Kelly's on. Kelly and our presenter work together a lot. So that'll be interesting to see if we can make sure, we get a lot of exposure for that. And Jeff, on your comment, would you be interested in if I can squeeze you into that event, would you be interested in presenting on broadband?
I gotta be honest with you, Kirk, it's tough.
I could tell.
Depends on the time. Let's take a look. I'm just, we're working with ADON on some of the EV stuff, and I'm trying to learn more. So I am.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap there for sure, and ADOT's getting very involved in all of it. But I'll send you the agenda and the time slot, and we could even zoom you in if you need to. So, but if you're interested, I'll send you the agenda and see if it works for you.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay.
So. Cindy, I skipped you here, but on October 4th, Pima County Connect, which is doing great stuff, by the way, and has a digital literacy forum, why digital literacy matters. So Cindy, you want to give us a quick update about what's happening with that?
Sure. So we're pulling together a 2-hour event, all virtual, to talk about digital literacy. The Connect Pima effort down in Pima County is I'm on the committee that's looking at, we're tasked with creating or expanding 5 digital literacy efforts within Pima County using community partners. So I wanted to, so the committee wanted to be sure that the community knows how important digital literacy is. We thought a little outreach and a little bit of explanation and sizing up of why it matters and the things that are going on in Pima County currently, and maybe participants can give feedback on where the monies that we are getting, that the state will be receiving for digital inclusion would best be spent in Pima County on literacy efforts. So we've got some national speakers, local speakers. It should be really good. It's Tuesday, October 4th from 10 to 12. And I'll have information out to everybody as soon as I can.
Yeah, and you're going to hear more from Cindy about what they're doing in Pima County. I just got to tell you, Cindy's doing great stuff down here in Tucson with Pima County. So thank you, Cindy, for all your work in leading the effort, and you've done a great job of pulling people together. So good job.
Thank you.
And then I don't know. Excuse me. Aaron, are you online?
I am, Steve. This is Aaron Ball.
No, I'm sorry, Aaron Carr Jordan.
Hi, Steve. I'm on the phone. I actually have a sick kiddo that I'm running real quick to the urgent care.
Oh, okay.
I am on the phone.
Okay,
I am
well,
on the phone. Just
so can you just talk about
updates.
the events that you got coming up? Want to hear more if you've got time. Sounds like that may not happen today, that your sick child is more important. But
sure,
you
just
have
very briefly.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have October 3rd. We're going to get the save the dates out. Excuse me for that. We're going to get the save the dates out this week for the October 3rd Digital Inclusion Celebration Summit. We have lots of folks who will be participating in a lightning round sort of celebration of all the wonderful things that are happening in the digital equity and inclusion space in Arizona. Sharika's presenting, Chicanos por la Causa is presenting, Jeremy from SciTech Institute, Learning.com, Barbara Bush Foundation, Phoenix Suns, all kinds of folks are going to be there. Really hoping to create attention on the incredible work that Arizona is doing and to set the stage for the work that we hope to do over the course of the next year. In addition, we are moving our 2 events that are part of our Digital Navigator workshop because we think we can actually do those in person if we push them back about a month or so. So I will send the invites out to those 2 events. They will be in Tucson and Flagstaff respectively, and they will be in November and early December. So we selected the dates. We're just confirming with the venues and with the speakers who will be there. We're partnering again with NDIA, with FCC, and a few other folks. So if you are interested, if you are in Flagstaff or Tucson and you want to participate in one of those 2 events, shoot me a line and I will make sure that you get an invitation. Also, I am thrilled to share that this morning we are having our digital equity team kickoff. So the folks who are on my team are getting together to just sort of get heads down and start working. So I'm happy to share next time we meet how that goes. I'm expecting it's going to be fantastic. Mostly I just want to get the team starting to gel and figure out what our strategy will be as we get to work. So those are the things that are happening right now. I'm sure I'm missing some stuff, but those are the important ones.
Great, thanks. So I hope your kid's okay and go take care of that. That's a priority right now.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Aaron. And Janet, I think you're online this morning. You've got a couple of workshops coming up and anything, and maybe anything else that you wanted to talk about.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Welcome to Tucson. The grant webinars that were announced last week, thank you so much, Steve, for also putting that into your minutes. Those will be some really great opportunities to learn more about how to write a successful grant application. And we often don't close the loop. We often don't get to hear who gets the grants. And we have heard recently of some really great grant awards. So USDA DLT, distance learning telehealth grants will be announced again in September. So now's the time to start looking for grant partners and thinking about it. I also put an event in chat. The entire week of September 19th through 23rd is Telehealth Awareness Week. So our program will be sponsoring a lot of different activities, some for clinicians, some for technologists, some for a little something for everybody. And I'll be doing my annual technology review of the American Telemedicine Association exhibit hall. And this is something I've been doing for a long, long time. And for about the last 5 years, it's been open to the public. And as part of the technology special interest group of the ATA. And so I take a look at the latest and greatest and do a very honest review, technology review. I did a sneak preview for our Arizona Telemedicine Council, and it was very successful. And I look forward to sharing that with anyone who is interested. And then I did put in the chat the Arizona SciTech Summit. We're happy to be a sponsor once again, the Arizona Telemedicine Program and Southwest Telehealth Resource Center. This is where we get to promote the health careers and do some recruiting for folks for health careers of the future. And now the most exciting news of all, and it's news that many of us have been waiting for, is there's a great press release, and I'll put this in the chat too as soon as I finish. The new tribal AHEC has been announced, which is awesome. And this is one of 6 area health education centers in Arizona. This is a program that was started federally in the 70s. So over 40 states have AHEC programs. We've partnered with our AHECs to recruit and train the healthcare workforce of the future. But the thing that's very unique about this one is it's going to be managed by the Arizona Advisory Council on Indian Healthcare. And the focus will be totally tribal. So not only to improve and expand access to healthcare, but it's all about recruiting that healthcare workforce too. We really want people who will choose to work in Indian country in healthcare. And so this 6th regional center is in collaboration with the San Carlos Apache Healthcare Corporation and Gila River Healthcare. It will be the AIH AHEC. And we're very excited. They'll need a little bit of time, of course, to get organized, and we can't wait to work with them and help them do great things. So let me put that in chat. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Janet. Are there any other events or announcements that we need to be aware of?
Steve, this is Mark. I put one in the chat that I just became aware of. I'm not involved directly in it, so I can't tell you much more than that ASU is holding a annual Digital Trust Summit over 2 days' time, October 11th and 12th. The first day is the first day is live on campus, and the second day is virtual, and it's part of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So the link for information and registrations in the chat.
Great, thank you, Mark. Any other announcements? So
this is Lindsay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Good morning. This is Lindsay from Arizona Alliance for Community Health Centers. We do have the October 6th HIT Symposium. We have been doing that for 6 years. We're finalizing the agenda this week, and we should be launching the event registration this week. So I will share that with you. Okay. It's a whole day event.
Great. Yeah, so Lindsay, please be sure to provide me the information, the links, anything, so we can share this with everybody.
Okay, sounds good.
And that will be part of Digital Literacy Week. So we'll want to promote the entire week too, and get some good flyers out for that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we'll hear more about that from Cindy in just a little while. Any other announcements? If not, let's just move on quickly. So Mark, do you want to say anything more about the public policy guide, or you done looking for input, or what's this?
No, but I do need to wrap it up this week. So I see Jeff there. Jeff, I definitely need to, I'm doing some editing. I want you, as the position you're in and the role you've played in the past, to at least review my changes. They won't be too significant, but want to catch up on digital equity, the grant programs, some of the federal stuff. Other than that, you did post last week and I'm glad to receive others' comments on last year's state and federal broadband policy for the Tech Council.
Okay. And then, so I didn't notice whether Holly or I assume Holly or Mala is online, and what's the status with hiring a digital inclusion consultant?
Steve, we are continuing to recruit and no qualified candidates have been identified at this time,
Okay,
unfortunately.
yeah,
But
really.
Cindy's doing a great job keeping our work going with Connect
Yeah.
Arizona and the digital navigators.
And we'll probably hear more from her in just a little while.
Thank you.
So with that, let's jump into our updates. And Jeff, you're on. Yeah, good to see you again.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. It's been a really busy summer, as you can imagine. We've got a lot of programs around the IIJA that require a lot of paperwork to move forward with these different programs. Specifically, our digital equity pre-plan was due. Again, this is all in the last month. Erin did an outstanding job in terms of putting together our structure and our outline. We made a few tweaks here and there. We submitted it. When you work with the federal government on federal grants, there's a program called Curing. Curing is like your worst nightmare English teacher from high school who goes through and looks for any little thing that's wrong. So we've been going through the bouncing back process. The last resubmission was about a week and a half ago. Usually they come back in a few days. So we've got our fingers crossed that that will be approved. Why is that important? Because that releases funding for our digital equity program. So we can go ahead and fund Erin and the Digital Equity Institute and others who are going to work on that program. Exact same process with the BEAD program. That's the Very Large Infrastructure Program. We turned our BEAD submission in on time. They bounced it back with some questions about, again, it's not just a narrative, it's a budgetary document. So we have to go through and work through that. We are working with our consultants on that one. We expect to get that back in today. Again, quite a bit of money coming in terms of planning and infrastructure building. If we want to hire more people for the broadband office, there's money in there for that. Just to give you some perspective, I don't know if Sandeep is on, but we're definitely in the lower end. My colleague in South Carolina posted something on LinkedIn about a week ago. They have 6 people. Maine has 11. So just to give you some perspective, we're very busy in what we're doing here. Let me go ahead and share something here real quick. Steve, would you allow me to share a picture?
Sure.
All right, let's see here. Oh, shoot. Let me try something here really quick. What I want to do is give you an idea, in addition to these 2 documents, which are incredibly complicated and precise, we're also working on our RFP for what we call our OMC, Operations, Maintenance, and Commercialization Vendor. This is the 25-year public-private partnership. I can't stress enough how complicated this is. It's not just us here at the ACA, it's the folks at ADOT working on this program as well. And basically it allows this third-party vendor to OMC to operate, to maintain, and to commercialize all this fiber that we're putting in up and down our highways right now. It's one of those things, unfortunately, I can't get this thing to pop up, but what it does, it allows the state to have an ongoing revenue stream to operate this really complex network. Why is that important? Because we don't want to run to the legislature every year and ask for money to operate it. What we want, and this is a really good metric for any of our programs, whether it's infrastructure, digital equity, any of our programs, middle mile, we're looking for sustaining networks, for folks that they're building something that either through fees or maintenance, or you have a carrier partner, makes it work. Because what we've seen in the past are a lot of things that have been built and they tend to go away because they don't have a good operations, maintenance, and commercialization plan. So this RFP is going to come out in the next couple of weeks. This is going to be a very complicated, very technical RFP. It's not like the grant RFP where we had 82 respondents. And in addition to the 20 winners, I've been following up with any of our folks who were not selected to help them get their application together for BEAD. So that's a whole other line of business. So expect to see that. You're going to see some publicity around that. We are working with some of the folks over at the Capitol around publicizing it. It is a big deal for the state. And this is something that will keep our broadband network, so to speak, in the black for years to come. So we're very excited about the process. In addition to the OMC RFP, we have 2 middle mile RFPs that we're working on with other states. As you can imagine, anytime you work on an RFP with another state and a tribe, it's complicated. So we're working on a couple more as we get closer to getting those out. You'll hear a little bit more about that. So again, just to run down what we've been doing this summer, and I believe that each one of these would be a project for someone in and of itself. Our digital equity plan, our BEAD plan, our OMC RFP, 2 middle mile RFPs, and following up with as many of the 62 folks who did not win our grant to help them prepare for the BEAD. So it's been a busy summer. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more. One of the exciting things about the BEAD is that we have the ability to add some staff, either through W-2 employees or 1099. I'll certainly be reaching out to a lot of you to get involved on that level, but also to be involved with our digital equity plan and our BEAD plan. There's a huge community outreach portion of that. I know, Steve, I'm going to be leaning on you a little bit for that, among others. So if I apologize for not being on as much as I would like to be, but we've got quite a bit going on. You know, in addition to this, Janet had mentioned there's USDA RUS grants coming out, telemedicine grants. It's a crazy world for broadband right now. And, you know, I've made the commitment to bring as much of this money as possible back to Arizona. So doing the best we can here, and hopefully we'll have some great results to talk over the next year.
So Jeff, I have a couple of questions. One is, there were some questions and people weren't clear about, is your office now a clear office? Has the legislature actually approved your office? I know there was some back and forth about that.
Yes, they actually finally got the bill done at the very end. So that's another good bit to talk about. Why is that important? When you're applying for different federal grants, having a state broadband office that is recognized in statute, it just gets you more points on the application. It's not the case for everyone, but it helps. So I'm excited that that'll be happening. And I'm very, very happy with our folks in the legislature and our folks within the ACA and the governor's office who made that happen.
And so the next question kind of related to that, of course, we're going to be entering a new legislative session again in the not too distant future. Or have you thought about or started working on a plan for the legislature for continued funding, for looking at some new projects? I guess what's the plan for a legislative plan for Arizona in the next year?
Well, believe it or not, we have a little bit on our plate right now, but the good news is that in addition to the BEAD program, in addition to the money that we're going to receive for initial planning, there is a 2% fee, I guess, where they take off the top that we can use for ongoing administration. And, you know, if you're familiar with the amounts we're talking about, it is quite a bit of money. So we're going to be pretty well funded moving forward. And again, this is just one of those things that anything that we can self-sustain, and we're not running back to the legislature, because the priorities change every year. And just having gone through this process of my office, which really should have been a simple process, it's incredibly political. And as you can imagine, and one thing that we try to do in broadband here is to keep the politics out of it. So, you know, I do believe that that's something that we need to think about. I mean, there are a lot of other things that we need to think about. I don't know if it's legislatively, but, you know, there are some issues that as we move forward, I think, you know, things like poll rights around the state are a really big issue. And we're going to have to call together, you know, maybe a summit with all the different groups to talk about that. This is something that keeps coming up. Rights away on federal lands. We talk very, very closely with our federal elected representatives. about that. Congressman O'Halloran in particular has been very active in that space. Getting and it's not just me, it's my counterparts in Nevada and Colorado and New Mexico and others. All the Western states have a very large land ownership of the federal government. So we have to work together to get that message out. We don't lobby Congress, we don't lobby the legislature. All we try to do is educate people on what the issues are and hope they do the right thing. I will say that Chairwoman Marquez Peterson has been amazing on the Corporation Commission in terms of working with new carriers and getting them through the process. We hope to continue to work with the Arizona Corporation Commission. But as far as legislature, we really don't have a legislative agenda. That's not really what we do. But we'll certainly, I meet with a lot of them, and I'll continue to do that.
I have some thoughts. I don't want to get into it today, Jeff, but I have some thoughts about a couple of things that would like to talk with you about regarding that. So anyway.
And Jeff, there was a post in the chat asking when will we be able to submit BEAD funding applications. I would guess that's not till next year, but you may have Treasury money sooner to refresh or recapitalize. Do you want to talk to those pools of money?
Yeah, how the governor's office spends money, it's behind a curtain. I don't always have access to that information, but they've been great to us in the past in terms of the Treasury money. So I don't have a definite answer on that, but you are correct, Mark. I mean, the BEAD program, we're looking at probably about a 9-month period of working on our 5-year plan. Our strategy thus far, and this is certainly could change over the next 9 months, is to really look at what we call micro grants. If you're familiar with how our grant worked last time, we sort of put out come to us with your best project, and we're going to select the best project around the state. And because we had some flexibility in how we spent that money, we did spend quite a bit on middle mile and programs that had middle mile components and other things. The BEAD program is very focused on last mile. So if you'd like to look at it from a high level in terms of steps, the FCC is going to come out with their new maps here, hopefully in the next month. Those new maps are going to drive a lot of this process, because where I call them white spots on the map, those areas that are unserved are going to be looked at first. And I don't mean just rural areas. I've had an opportunity. I had a meeting with Comcast last week about Tucson. What we're going to do is we're going to take a hard look at our urban areas and even down to the neighborhood level. What we found with Cox and others there are spots that for whatever reason, their franchise agreement didn't include it. It's a county island. There's a water district there. These are the kind of things. So there are areas within Phoenix and Tucson that aren't served. We're going to work with them to get those areas served, in addition to these unserved smaller communities. And that's really going to be priority 1, and then rolling into underserved after that. So if you look at the way our grants work, I'll give you Mojave County is probably the best example. Mojave County is going to have the best broadband in the state in 2 to 3 years. Kingman, Lake Havasu City, Allo Communications, multi-gigabit service. You've got Mojave Electric in Bullhead City. I believe it's 10 gigabit. They're even advertising service. And then you've got WECOM, which is building a very large ring that's connecting up Chloride and all these small towns. Many of them are getting last mile service. The ring extends into La Paz County. In La Paz County, in addition to Parker and Quartzsite, it's picking up all the small communities. They're building out last mile. The ones that don't have last mile are unserved, and it'll be very easy to fund with the BEAD funding. So believe it or not, there's a method to this madness, and we're slowly but surely moving forward. As you know, we've got the I-17 project, which will be done probably I'm not going to say by the end of the year, but let's just say early next year. We've got the I-19 project, the I-40 project, and we're hoping to have some more announcements here in the next little bit. So stay tuned on that. We're slowly but surely and methodically building this thing out, and we're going to get it done. We're already talking to Dr. Erin Carr-Jordan. I'm just going to call her Erin. Hopefully that's okay, about going into some of these communities I just mentioned. And really, it's an opportunity for us to kind of do a bit of a dry run with some of our digital equity policies to see what translates, because there are some great programs in Phoenix. I have no doubt that they'll do well, but how well do they translate outside of Phoenix? And those are the kind of things that we're going to be looking at. So quite a bit going on, Mark, as you can imagine. And right. As I mentioned to you and Steve and others, I mean, you guys are key players in this thing. So I expect to be reaching out to you as soon as we get some of these funding things resolved here.
So Jeff, I actually had a contact from someone who's in the foothills here in Tucson, And I guess Comcast is across the street from her, but she can't get broadband. So there's a bunch of homes where she is, and they cannot get any decent broadband.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens. And there are some historical lines that I look back on and go, wow, I can't believe this is where they do the line, but they did. But yeah, there are some areas within Metro Tucson. There are also new growth areas in places like Marana that need to be addressed. So, in addition to Comcast and Cox and Lumen, we're talking to a lot of people. We're talking to Ting. We're talking to, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Google Fiber. If you're interested, Steve, I'd love to have the Google Fiber come on and talk, if you haven't had that already, about what they're doing in Mesa. They're looking
I needed that contact from you, Jeff, for Google Fiber.
Yep, they've got 7 other markets that they're looking at Metro Phoenix in addition to Mesa, and they're not requesting grant funding. It's an incredibly interesting model. I mean, that model of Google Fiber is 100% focused on consumers and not focused on businesses. So it's different than a lot of our stuff. But we're happy to have them. We're happy to have any companies that want to come and spend money in Arizona and build out. And Google's a great company.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. So much happening. We could probably actually do a whole separate session just on a lot of the things that you covered pretty quickly here. So
we do.
Anyway.
I mean, I'd love to hire someone, like what Mark puts out every week is fantastic. I think we need to go to that direction as well, just to keep people updated, because there is so much going on.
Yeah.
And, just allowing folks like Aaron and others to contribute what they're doing too. It's pretty impressive. So we're going to be adding some staff. We're going to be a lot better at communicating heading into 2023. And thank you for your support.
You bet.
Jeff?
Thanks, Jeff.
Is
Somebody
it okay
have a question? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Cole.
Thanks. Thanks, Steve. We've noticed with our project here that when we got our proposals, that a lot of the areas that were considered by the maps to be not unserved or underserved, actually, when you get out and talk to the residents, they're getting 3 or 5 meg. So I'm assuming a lot of that reporting is coming directly from the ISPs. And we had a meeting with NACOG, I want to say a couple of months ago, where they said that through the BEAD program, there is the possibility that we could audit those residences to make sure that the ISPs are actually reporting correct speeds, but the state would have to lead that process. Is that anything you know about? Could that be a realistic way to actually help these residents?
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely something we're looking at. I had the opportunity to sit down with the town manager or city manager from Clarkdale, and we went through the maps. Now, the best maps we have today are the NTIA maps, and this is what we used for our grant. We went through certain neighborhoods that she showed as being served. Unfortunately, they're not. I mean, she literally went door to door and did this research. The challenge we have, Corey, is that they're not accepting speed test results because of the discrepancy in distances. It's not a good, accurate measurement. So we have to come up with a better way to do this. The FCC maps that are coming out in the next month, I am crossing my fingers. I had a call with Chairwoman Rosenworcel from the FCC, and she swore up and down that they're going to be great. I'm kidding. She said they'd be good. So we're gonna hopefully those are great. My counterpart in Texas did a bit of a test with their beta model with one of their electric co-ops. They found about a 10% variance. I will tell you, compared to what we have today, I will take a 10% variance all day long. To me, that's a really, really good fit. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the FCC maps. That being said, we have the ability, now we won't be able to submit until December, but we have the ability to go through and audit these results. To your point about the carriers, I have been telling them, don't submit your marketing numbers. This is the time to be honest about this stuff. If you don't have great service in an area, tell them, because then we can address the area. So I'm hoping that's the case. But if there are discrepancies, we are working. We have Ernst & Young EY in-house. Part of what we're working with them on is coming up with a process to do that will be FCC compliant. We have a state mapping cohort led by myself, but probably most importantly, Jenna Levier from the State Land Department, who's amazing. They've done maps from COVID and wildfires in Arizona, and they're very, very good. She's a nationally recognized expert, much like Erin is on digital equity. So we're leaning on Jenna. We're getting some information from some different groups on that. We expect to get more, but absolutely, we're going to come up with a process where communities can come forward and say, hey, this just isn't right, and challenge it. And we as the state of Arizona are going to submit that. Unfortunately, between when the maps come out, probably in early September and December, there's not a whole lot we can do before then. But honestly, the BEAD money, we're probably looking at next summer, just based on and that's me probably being somewhat realistic. So let's continue to work together. I spoke to the county commissioners on Friday. I think the counties are an important role in this process. Because they can scoop up a lot of different municipalities. I'm going to be speaking with the League of Cities and Towns. That's another group that's going to have a huge role in this. We're all going to have to work together. There's just not enough bodies here in state government to do this work. What we need local help. What we'll do is supply a process for you, and you can drill down. We'll identify, and we'll send a big batch to the FCC at the end of the year.
We appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you.
Okay. We need to move on. Jeff, thanks. It was good to see you again, and thank you for all the great work you do. It's really phenomenal, considering you're what, 2 or 3 people now instead of 1, but still lots to do.
Good stuff. I've got to drop it. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate the time.
You bet. Okay, so we've got we're running a little bit late today, and we do want to hear from Reggie in a little while. So I'm going to ask if we can do some pretty short updates. Holly and Mala, you guys have anything that you need to update us about?
Just very quickly, if I may, this last week, we had a little bit of setback with the E-rate bidding portal. There was a lot of uproar about this. I know I mentioned this a couple of, several meetings ago, that there's a hue and cry about not going through with what FCC is suggesting, that they centralize with USAC a bidding portal for all E-rate bids to be submitted. Last week, DOJ accepted that, and they're supporting the central bidding portal, and that the bids be submitted in parallel, actually, to the portal at the same time that the bid is submitted to the beneficiary. And that's going to create a lot of problems. I won't go through all the problems right now with you, because I have done so in the past. If anyone's interested in knowing more about it, please reach out to me and I will be happy to update you. ALAs and Shelby and several other organizations have actually put up a document to FCC protesting about this, but that's what's happening. The other thing, I just want to give you a very brief 10 seconds update on PIMA Connect. There are 2 groups that are working on it. Cindy is working with the digital inclusion. I'm working with the access group under Michelle Simon and Mark Hayes, the 2 co-chairs. And 50 of the 120 hotspots that they applied for are already online. Anyone, if you're in the vicinity and you can see PCPL on the go as the network key, you can log into that, and that lets you in seamlessly. So that's already available, and the rest will be connected slowly, one at a time, during the next couple of weeks. The third thing that I want to talk about was the FCC report on the future of UCF has come out, and you can see an analysis of this on the Benton report. And sadly, there's not much that FCC has done in this. It's still a recommendation for the future. It's the future of the Universal Service Fund is still in the future. They haven't done much of a recommendation on increasing the base. which is absolutely essential if they are going to fund any of the, the recurring costs after the BEAD money and other grant money has been spent in developing the fiber network, because there's going to be an increase in the recurring costs for libraries and schools, and there doesn't seem to be any way in which FCC has actually tried to increase the base. So ACP, we've had about 3,500 households connected last week, and we're continuing to do about the same or a little over that. So back to you, Steve, unless there are any other questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Mala, I did post the links to the FCC report and the Benton commentary, which is very good. And really, they've not taken positive action, but they're, suggesting a proceeding, more study.
Thank you. I was about to do that after I finished speaking, but glad you did it. Thank you.
Okay.
Back to you, Steve.
So just quickly, Mala and Janet, do you guys have anything more you want to say about the telemedicine, the telehealth and libraries initiative in Pima County?
I can give a quick update.
Okay.
We have the Arivaca Community Health Day scheduled for October 1st, and this is it's open to the public, but it's for Arivaca, the community, to share all the great resources they have in healthcare, and will involve a lot of their community resources at the old schoolhouse, which is a beautiful historic building. And it really is the rollout and announcement of the telemedicine peripheral devices and services that people will now have access to through their local library. So we're all pretty excited. Anything you'd add to that, Mala?
No, I'm good with that. That's great, Janet. And you visited the place, right? You and Ken Zambo visited the sites last week. So
yes, and it's beautiful. And all of our libraries in this state are so unique. So this is a library that's right next to a wild bird sanctuary. So you can check out binoculars from the library. And there's a little gnome garden. It's just beautiful. And this historic schoolhouse is a beautiful venue. And it's where a lot of public events happen. And they really do have great community there. It's a very interesting place. It's 14 miles from Mexico.
Okay, we need to move. I'm sorry, Dan, I don't mean to cut you off, but we do need to move on.
Thank you.
We're running very late. So Janet, do you have anything else that you need to report other than what you did earlier?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Sophia, I believe you're online. I don't think Mylan or Kelly are online this morning.
Nope, I think it's just me. And we don't have a ton of updates over here from the Department of Ed. The Trusted App application is still open until the end of the month, but that's really it.
Okay. And I know Shelby, you're online. I believe you're online, Shelby Brown. Do you have anything that you need to give us an update about?
No. Kelly and I have been visiting a lot of schools. We met with some I guess it's the Navapatch superintendents last week. So that was a great meeting to get out there and visit some schools. As you may know, we have that Homeland Security grant that we're encouraging schools and school districts to apply for. So they have, it's a rolling enrollment. So it's a great opportunity to kind of leverage that. What's been interesting in my travels is just hearing of the number of schools that have been attacked, and their varying levels and stuff like that. So anyway, so I'll post the code for folks if they want to share that with schools out there. But other than that, not much else going on. Still, in the breath of E-rate, but that's always an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I believe, Shelby, and I'll post it. I didn't get it in this past newsletter, but I believe there's some federal workshops coming up on cybersecurity.
Oh, yes. I think there's a student data privacy or something. Is that the one you're referring to? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm aware of that, but yeah, that'd be great to post as well.
Yeah. So I'll get that out. Leah's not here. Derek, haven't seen you in a while. You still online?
I am, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I mean, I think probably the most pressing and interesting thing that we have in flight right now is our community college science network is about to go live, and that's a network that's designed to kind of introduce science networking concepts into community colleges. With we have 4 partner community colleges. One is Coconino Community College, Estrella Mountain, Phoenix College, and Chandler Gilbert are all involved. And we're about to host a seminar with faculty from those schools to help them get on board. Along with that, our CBRS networking page is almost live, and that'll be used for research data acquisition, IoT, and homework gap kind of solutions. Our EduRoam continues to develop and roll out throughout the state, and continue to be interested in schools that are interested, and anyone else who runs public Wi-Fi. And working with a number of municipalities to get them direct connected to the major cloud providers, much in the same way that the universities are connected. And last but not least, working on creating or establishing a 501c3 capability to cover some of our efforts. So that's the quick update.
I understand that you were saying that you're looking at Suncor being a 501c3.
That's correct.
Cool. Talked about that for a long time.
Future. Yeah, long time. I'm hoping we'll cross the finish line here before too long.
Cool. So I wanted to actually talk to you more about that, not today, but I want to talk to you some more about that. So anything else? So just quickly, the highway projects are rolling along.
Yeah, Jeff mentioned them as well. And so, yeah, they're rolling along. Looks like they're going to be nearly on schedule. And so pretty exciting stuff.
Cool. Okay, moving on. I don't think Wes is online. Rory, I think I saw you, and I don't believe Mylan's online. Anything that you want to talk about with the Final Mile project? No, maybe he's not there anymore. Okay, well, let's move on, because I know we're running kind of late, but I did want to introduce our presenter this morning.
Excuse me. Did you?
I'm sorry, Elena. Missed you. Apologize. You're on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Just really quick. We launched our Affordable Connectivity Program awareness campaign last week. We had sort of a soft launch. We created a new website. It's getmyinternet.org. We've had already thousands of people clicking to that site. We've had really good click through to the FCC site for the application. We've partnered with Arizona State University's Experience Center to serve as navigators. We developed a Slack channel for navigators nationally, including at ASU. They've been trained up. They're helping people get signed up for ACP. We have marketing materials. We sent out a press release last Monday talking about the importance of ACP and getting eligible families signed up. We have decks that we've created for parents and caregivers. We have a deck for school administrators, another one for navigators. The city of Phoenix has agreed to partner with us, and so they're helping us with promotion, as well as ASU and the Digital Equity Institute. And then I know we're in a hurry, so we're looking for help to publicize this. So I know last week I posted some flyers in the chat, but if anybody wants any materials at all regarding the ACP, please reach out to me. We can use as much help. I know Andy has sent stuff out, and I believe I reached out to Wes and a few, I don't know if I reached out to you, Wes, I was going to. But anyway, anybody who can help us, that would be awesome. And then we will be continuing for 12 weeks with this pilot program in targeted areas of Phoenix. But of course, we want as many people to at least try to sign up via the either via our navigators or the FCC application site. So getmyinternet.org is our new website. It's super easy to navigate, and we'd love you to get that word out. So
Great. Thanks, Elena. You guys are doing great work too. I mean, we have so many people doing great work here, but I do need to move on. Reggie, I know we're running a little bit late, but I still would like to hear from you today. So I want to introduce Reggie Carrillo, who's the Arizona Regional Manager for Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program. Many of you may know TEALS. But Reggie, I'm going to turn it over to you. And if you want, I will stop sharing and let you share anything you might want to share.
Okay, I'm ready to share when you pass it over.
There you go. So I apologize, Reg, that we're running a little bit late, but hopefully we may extend this meeting just a little bit so that we can make sure that Reggie has plenty of time. So you're on, Reg.
Thank you. I'm a teacher, so I can do with whatever time that I have. I'm going to close this out here. So I want to start with the reflection question. As a teacher, I always go back to how I operate in the classroom. But a lot of you already talked about this, and so I love the conversations that you all had about digital inclusion. The reflection question I want to pose for you to all respond in the chat. What does digital equity look like in the work that you do today? And again, a lot of you talked about that, but if there's anything else that you want to put in, please, I'd be interested in reading this after I'm done presenting. And so I'll go ahead and talk about that more as I'm presenting. But that's what got me into the classroom is focusing on equity, centering equity. That's what got me into working as this role for the regional manager for the Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program. And lastly, what I want to say is it's a free response. Answer it how you will. As a teacher, I always love to see how people interpreted the questions that I posed for them. And then again, I'll have another question. I would love for us to talk about this together, but because of time, feel free to respond in the chat. So just a basic agenda. I'll go ahead and start with introductions, talk to you about what the Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program is. And then a big overview is how we center diversity, equity, and inclusion in the work that we do when we partner with schools, when we partner with school districts, teachers, and students. So I'll go ahead and just introduce myself. But while I do that, I would love for you all, I know a lot of you have introduced myself, but it is my first meeting, 7:30 in the morning meeting. I'm happy to make it. I would love to see, just read after this to all of you and then also sharing contact information. So feel free in the chat, put your name, your professional role, share your contact information. And then the last question too is what motivates you to do the work that you do today? And while you're doing that, I'll go ahead and introduce myself again, name, professional role, and what motivates you to do the work that you are doing today. And I put this too, just because a key component of the work that we do is collaborating with partners who are all stakeholders in education, collaborating with partners who are all stakeholders in the up and coming tech industry here in Arizona. So my name is Reginald Carrillo, Regina Carrillo. I go by Reggie too. I'm the regional manager, so my name is like my title. I'm the regional manager for the Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS program. I'm born and raised here in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a product of the Arizona education system. I went to Desert Unified School District when I was a kindergarten up until high school. And it was because I had teachers who knew about our housing situation that continue to empower and encourage and enable me and my siblings to pursue our education, to pursue higher education. And from there, I went on to get my bachelor's in global public health from Arizona State University from the School of Human Evolution and Social Change. And then from there, I went on to get my master's in education from Grand Canyon University. And with that experience, I stepped into the classroom for the first time. And to speak to the work that we're all talking about here, I really stepped into that classroom when I was 24 years old, such a long time ago, 24 years old, and really stepped into the classroom seeing, and I was shocked when I stepped into the classroom in our education system, seeing that it really was still reflecting a 1950s style of teaching and learning for students, where you saw rows of lecture style teaching. I still had outdated textbooks, and what you hear out when you think of like the resources, lack of resources teachers have, students have, it was very much present in the school that I stepped into. And so that was shocked to me, because attending ASU, attending GCU, where they have these, they have access, they provide access and opportunity to education, right, through their digital infrastructure. It was shocking that we didn't have that for our students, when I knew that as a student, I was very much up to the challenges of navigating that to get my education. Luckily for me though, luckily for our school applied for a grant. It was in partnership with Apple and the Obama administration to receive technology. This was back in 2015. And so again, I tell you this to tell you my journey of how I got into tech and teaching about digital inclusion and into this role. We received that grant, and it was, I really became what our school started calling innovative, how to utilize technology to teach. I went paperless in the classroom that first 6 months, and I started to expand the rigor and the opportunity of how my students can learn and what they can learn about. I was a very early user of Google Classroom, those learning management systems, Zoom, stuff like that, so that my students can access experts in topics that I was teaching about where I wasn't the expert, right? Reaching out to professors, because I had a lot of contacts at ASU, reaching out to a lot of research students to learn about another one of my passion, environmental sustainability. And so technology, access to broadband, access to Wi-Fi, one-to-one devices really helped my students to learn at a level that they weren't able to learn before. And so that helped me develop my passion. I became an Apple technology integration specialist to continue to provide professional development to help teachers utilize technology to learn. We're seeing right now in the pandemic, a lot of teachers, this is very new for teachers, for everyone in the education system, since a lot of school districts finally got the funding to strengthen their digital infrastructure. But our school was very much experiencing that back in 2016, 17, how teachers were not really taking the risk to use tech because the professional development wasn't there. And so I was assigned to take on that role, to teach teachers how to use that. And to, again, one of the main things I used technology to teach was to implement community-based projects so that our students can learn about the community that they're in. They can take a hands-on approach to teaching in their community with community leaders. From there, I stepped out of the classroom to run for governing school board. So I'm also a governing school board member for our first school district, and I'm very proud to continue to say that for as long as I can, Phoenix Elementary. And then I transitioned to the role as Microsoft Philanthropies to manage the TEALS program. And I'll tell you more about the TEALS program. But in short, that's how I got here. That's my journey in continuing to invest in our education system, continuing to invest in all of our students to make sure that they have access to opportunities that I didn't have access, such as computer science, which is what the TEALS program is about. So again, I manage the TEALS program. Our mission is to equip all students for the future with computer science. Many of our students are born in this digital landscape, and they're utilizing and interfacing with all of these tech systems, these devices, and we're really taking it upon us to make sure that the future that develops this digital reality that we're experiencing is diverse, and that we're working to increase diversity and making sure that every student has opportunities to gaining these skills to enter into these professions, these high-paying professions where they can work from home. And I'll talk more about that too. So TEALS program, it used to stand for Technology, Education, and Literacy in Schools. As of the end of last week, we're changing that. And so that's a new update to Technology, Education, and Learning Support. This is because our success with expanding computer science is continuing to increase. We started out in Tucson here in Arizona, and that access has increased to above 70%. Here in Maricopa County and the rest of Arizona, it's not as high as it is in Tucson. But also TEALS originally focuses at supporting high schools, but we're expanding into supporting community colleges and hopefully my wish to supporting at the K through 8th grade level. What we do at TILS program, we partner with educators, high school educators, to build educator capacity to teach about computer science at all levels, right? From intro to computer science to AP classes to learning about cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, and making sure that they are partnered with experts to teach teachers. Many of the teachers that we partner with are novice teachers who have been voluntold, are also who are just passionate about this, see the future of technology, and sees that future employment opportunities need students who are skilled in this area. And so we teach these teachers to be able to teach computer science, again, from intro, various programming courses to cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. And we reach out to Fortune 500 companies, tech industry, tech corporations from all across the valley, local companies to big corporations like Apple, Waymo, to get employees who are working in these professions to step into the classroom, to connect with students, to connect with teachers, and provide them other opportunities too, like internships, anything again to help our students see that what this profession looks like outside of the classroom, to see what this profession looks like outside of what they're learning in these books and in these courses, to make sure, again, as what my bio says, to see that they see a future for themselves in these professions when there's not a lot of representation in the tech industry right now. Again, we provide rigorous curricula. I train and many of my colleagues work to train teachers and volunteers how to teach students, how to teach teachers, and how to learn about the computer science courses they're about to teach. We offer the main component here too is what I'm here to speak about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we center diversity, equity, and inclusion. We make sure that the schools, any schools that we partner with, anybody that we collaborate with is also focusing on diversity, equity, inclusion when they're partnering with us and when we're partnering with schools, because we want to make sure that, and I'll talk more about this, that the students that we're putting in those classes are students that need to be in those classes that have traditionally been excluded from opportunities like this. And we're really focused on increasing our partnerships with Indigenous schools, Indigenous students serving schools, Black schools, schools that serve Black students, African-American students, Latinx students, and making sure that we're increasing female student enrollment in these courses, ELL student enrollment, and then students who are on the lower socioeconomic rung of the ladder, making sure that they're in these courses too. So to talk more about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that is key to the work that we do. That is what motivates me in the work that I do today, from being a teacher, from being a school board member, to being the manager here of the TILS program based here in Phoenix. These are just some examples of how we focus diversity, equity, and inclusion in the work that we do when we partner with schools, making sure that we're building an inclusive learning space is a very important, is a vital aspect of the work that we do, making sure that the students, when they're in these classes, that they feel safe and secure being in these courses, that can be, for an example, that can involve us training teachers, volunteers, culturally responsive teaching practices, so they understand the lived experiences of the students that they're going to be working with. That can be seeing themselves in posters when they're stepping in their classes, right? Seeing that there's diversity in STEM. Another aspect is diversity in enrollment, like I said earlier, and I'll show you later what our numbers look like too for Indigenous students. Increasing the number of Black, Latinx, Indigenous students that are in these courses, and making sure that too, when we go to inclusive instruction, that the people that are teaching them are, for priority number one, are experts when it comes to STEM, but also that students who are receiving instruction from experts see themselves in the instructors. So making sure that whoever we're recruiting to support our teachers, and this goes for the teachers themselves too, that they also represent various lived experiences, various backgrounds. So our students are not just seeing one face, one person in this field, that they're seeing women experts coming back into the classroom, teaching that they're seeing. Right now, we have people from all across backgrounds, not just in Arizona, but all across the nation supporting schools here in Phoenix. These are some examples of how we support schools to make commitments of diversity, equity, inclusion, and then also how we make sure that when we're recruiting too, that process is implemented with experts that we work with too. I have a video that'll play. I hope I have time. Let's see what time it is. Okay.
Lincoln is a great school.
If it plays.
It's an urban high school here in the heart of Silicon Valley. Most of our students don't have parents in tech.
Parents don't know how to encourage their kids. They may believe that their kid can't access those opportunities, or they may not know that the opportunity exists.
There's so many job openings that we don't even have the people to fill them. Why can't we homegrown our students to be tech ready? We need to be in that race. It is challenging to start a new computer science class. You know, teachers are very busy, and having a partnership with TEALS, it made it a much smoother transition. Having people from the high-tech industry come to your classroom, teaching content and concepts of computer science made it much easier.
I brought my brother into robotics because there's not enough opportunities at his middle school. Technology has changed me. It's made my technical communication, presentation, and my leadership skills better.
We want to make a better world for all students and give them all the opportunities that they can get. And if the technology is where they are meant to be and they simply don't have access to it, that is a tragedy.
As teachers, we need to prepare our students so that they're career ready.
I love that video because it does speak to the passion of teachers that teachers have when they're teaching computer science, but also
Lincoln.
Click next. But also, which is why I'm present here in this meeting today, is that we do partner with high school educators to teach computer science to students. We do partner with experts in computer science to teach that to teachers and students. But one of the biggest challenges, and this brings us to our questions here, is in order for them to have access to that support, they need access to broadband, they need access to Wi-Fi. And so I have posed another question for you all. What are the biggest challenges you encounter in the work that you do today? And I'll, again, free response, take that how you want. And then I'm going to switch slides and talk and speak to the challenges that we have with the TEALS program when we do partner with schools, some of our biggest challenges.
So Reggie, I know you've got some other stuff to share, but we are running late. Kirk suggested that we should just continue and those who can stay online. But okay. What I would like to do with some of the remaining time is to talk about what you and I had this conversation about. I know you're interested in partnering with folks, and I'm sure we're going to have, after this meeting, people are going to want to partner with you. How is the best way for us to pursue, collaborating with you?
Yeah, so I can just, so are asking me to near the end of the presentation? I can go there.
Yeah, I would like for us to schedule some more time for you, Reggie, to talk some more about what you're doing. And I apologize that we ran late this morning. As you can see, we had a lot of stuff to talk about today. But I do think that it's really important that you, because of your commitment to digital inclusion, not only the computer science piece that it's really important for us to figure out how to best collaborate with you as an organization and individual folks who are on this call.
Hey, Reggie and
so
Steve, Reggie,
Hey,
Steve.
Kirk. Yeah.
I think Steve was saying that you don't need to fast forward to the end. If people, we still got 30 folks on. If you want to finish your presentation, and the folks that do have to drop off, that's why we record it. If you want to finish your presentation, I think you should. Steve, is that okay? And then
Sure.
And then people can come back. We'll publish the recording. So we still got 30 folks on. So somebody's listening. And I think because this is very important material, and I think Microsoft's a huge player in this space.
Mhm.
And I think we should give you the opportunity to go ahead and finish. You got about 5 or 6 slides left. Go ahead and finish the presentation. If people have to drop off, that's okay. They can go back.
Definitely.
And we'll also make sure that they have your contact information so we can continue to move forward. But Steve, I think this is so important in a digital inclusion space, and Microsoft's such a big player in this space, and a big player in education, you know, all around. And we're partnering with them, and they have a data center academy out on the west side at Avondale. I think it's important to let them finish, and then we can go ahead, and anybody, if it needs to drop, we can just chew into the kibitzing time.
That's fine.
Just my contact information, just I'll leave it up here for a couple seconds for anyone who wants to just take a quick screenshot. You can contact me at regional@tealsk12.org, or feel free to call me 623-999-7784. And just again, I'll put this here real quick for anyone who does need to drop off and does see a way that we can collaborate in the future. Feel free to reach out to me, whether it's through TILS, and I'll explain this back too. We have 15 schools that we're partnering with, and we're looking to expand that partnership, double that partnership for the 23-24 school year, for the next following year. And then here as a governing board, I have other 15 schools that I serve too. And so again, one of the biggest challenges that we have with the schools that we partner with, going with that question, is especially with our rural indigenous schools, is lack of access to Wi-Fi, to broadband. And as a regional manager, I don't see myself just narrowly focused on upscaling in computer science. But as I told Steve last week too, is that our role really is to build up the STEM and tech culture in the states that we serve. And so I'm a one-man show here in Arizona, and I can't do everything by myself, obviously. But what's making this program so successful, as it has been in Tucson, is because of the partnerships that we formed with other stakeholders like all of you that are present today. So please reach out to me. The support of the success of the TILS program, the future of computer science, but also just on everything we're talking about, right? Depends on making sure that we're all collaborating together and building those relationships with each other.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Mark, quickly.
So, Mark, you need to mute.
The Midwest project in Asana. Was I invited to it? And do you know the name of it?
We have moved from Asana to Box. We've abandoned.
Mark, you need to mute.
So I will send you a link, and if it doesn't let you in, you'll. Oh, sorry.
No problem. And then
Okay, so should I go back? But I think I've shared my contact information, and please reach out to me.
Okay.
And I'll talk with you as soon as
So Reggie, just a couple of things, just FYI. So I will, in the next couple of days, I send out after each meeting, the video link, the registration list with all the contact information, people who are on this call, the chat, the transcript from the meeting. So people get all of that information sometime after the meeting. This week may be a little delayed because of my surgery tomorrow, but nonetheless, we do get all of that information. The other thing, Reggie, that I didn't talk to you about, but I did mention that we are talking with Microsoft about some other partnerships. And actually, the tentative plan is that we have some other folks who are planning to present after Labor Day. And so what I need to do is to connect you with those folks, and maybe we just dedicate a lengthy time at our meeting after Labor Day for us to really have a conversation about, because they're going to be talking about what they're doing with digital equity and digital inclusion. And as you know, as we were saying, Microsoft's a big thing. with lots of different people doing lots of different things. But I think that since we have that relationship with some of these other folks, that it would make sense for us to bring, first of all, for me to introduce you, because I don't think you knew those folks, for us to introduce you offline, and then maybe we just do an extended presentation after Labor Day. And as I've told them, and I think I mentioned to you, that because Microsoft is so big, that one of the things that they can really help us with is try to navigate and identify where are the different pieces to the best we can, and the best that you guys know of where resources are within Microsoft.
So Steve, are we gonna get back and let them finish the presentation and chew into the kibitz time? Let's chew into the kibitz time.
Yeah, we're not going to do kibitz today. But so,
Okay.
Reggie, if you want to talk a little more about what you were going to share earlier, you're more
Because he stopped on, I think he's got like 6 or 7 more slides left.
I can go really quickly. I know we have like 6 minutes.
No, Reggie, we can stay on, and if people need to hang up, they just need to hang up. We can record this and it's very important material. So I think, and a lot of people in the chat responded that they'd love to stay on and finish it.
Okay.
Because I think it's very important.
Okay, and I'll continue, and then and again, reaching out to me if I'm not the contact that can support in the work that you're doing. Like Steve said, there's many players here in Microsoft from our data center. We just opened, have a lot of colleagues that we always talk. We're always talking, collaborating too behind the scenes. And if I can pass you on to a colleague who can serve you better, I definitely will. But just jumping back into the presentation, focusing on challenges. Again, one of those biggest challenges we face with schools that want to partner with us is a lot of schools don't have that digital infrastructure set up. A requirement to partner with us for the TILS program is to have some type of digital or tech infrastructure set up. And we see that some schools still have lacking access to Wi-Fi, lacking access to having devices for their students. Because one way that we can support is through remote access. That's where we have volunteer support remotely when we're dealing with rural communities, trying to partner with rural communities. They don't have, they may not have CX experts in their local proximity. And so another option for us is to plug in volunteers. We can plug in volunteers from California, people who are here in Phoenix to support these schools. But then that's another barrier too, when a school does not have the infrastructure to have volunteers supporting remotely or virtually, like how we're able to do now. But these are some of the requirements that they need to have, right? An IT person, making sure they have bandwidth. And so I think this is the right space to collaborate with people, to connect them with those schools. Especially right now, our application opens back up in October, and I like to start setting these meetings up very early, a year up in advance with schools, because it takes a lot for a program like this to be successful. And again, in continuing my mission to build up the STEM culture here, the tech culture infrastructure here, I have no problem, and it helps us. It's a mutually beneficial relationship to connect these schools, even if we're not able to support them with resources, individuals like yourself, with your organizations, the entities that you work for, so that there can be a time in the future that we can work with them when they have the resources to have this infrastructure. Another way we support is also in person, making sure that we can get experts to show up in person when virtual support is not a possibility. But a thing too, working with rural Indigenous schools are in some communities not finding experts in that area who can go in person, or the area is too far. And so most of our volunteers express a travel time of 30 minutes. And sometimes we have schools that are an hour, 2 hour out, 2 hours out of the way when we're trying to connect them with people. And so those are some challenges we encounter when partnering with schools, school districts, and communities. Here's a map of expanding the TILS program, how we've expanded. Phoenix is a new area. We've started off in Tucson, and just this year we're trying to expand into the Phoenix area. And since I know Phoenix like the back of my hand, I thought I'd apply. And since I'm a school board member, I have a huge network of people I can connect with. We have about 3 schools in Phoenix for the 22-23 school year. But like I said, we're trying to double that number for the next year. So if there's any way that you can connect me to any educational leaders in school districts or at various schools, I'd be happy to be connected to them. And we're also, I don't just say nationwide because we're in Canada and we're in Juarez, Mexico too. But if you know anybody across the nation or in these other areas, I can connect you with other regional managers serving other schools in other states and other regions. Because I know last time there were some people who are not in Arizona, to collaborate with my colleagues from across the states.
Reggie, there's been several comments about how or if you can partner with libraries or anything being done with libraries.
Yeah, I'm always open to meeting. I can reach out to me via email or call me. And I'm always open to talking, seeing how we can collaborate, how we can support each other in the work that we're doing. Or how you, most importantly, as a board member, as region manager, it's putting my teachers first, putting my students first, and seeing how you as a resource can support them and what they need. And so, yes, please send an email. And if there's a way that we can figure out an action plan for how your resources are needed for the schools that we serve, I'd be happy to make the connection.
Great, thank you.
And just furthermore, just nationally, these are schools that we serve, 500 plus schools, 17,000 students. We have over 450 volunteers from various companies, and just bring it down to, and I bring up our indigenous numbers because the disparities and lack of access to Wi-Fi, broadband, a lot of tech resources are the most exasperated when we talk about indigenous communities. And so with our students right now, our population that we serve here in Arizona is 4% that are included in the TILS program. And then volunteers, 1% of volunteers are indigenous. And for me, I'm looking to increase that number so that these students see themselves in this profession. And that goes all across the board with our Black students, Latinx students, female students, ELL students, and so on.
So Reggie, do you work at all with Microsoft Airband at all?
Yeah, I do. So I was just connecting with them last week. They were telling me that they should have people joining this meeting. So I wanted to ask you behind the scenes if there was anybody here, and if not, I could follow up with them too.
Yeah. And those are the folks that I was talking to you about, Reggie, that I wanted to connect you with, and that will be presenting after Labor Day.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to join and see the work that they're doing too, and connect them with their school. But again, if there's anyone else that you need to get in touch with, just let me know.
Okay.
Here's how some models of how we support schools. This is our co-teach model. When we talk about supporting teachers, this is our heaviest level of support. What the TILS program does is work with novice teachers for the most part, and we can prepare them up with 4 to 5 volunteers, experts in computer science in the course that they're going to teach. If they're teaching a course on cybersecurity, if they're teaching a course on Python programming or Java, we'll partner them with people who are experts in that area. And with the teacher who's new, that could be about 4 to 5 volunteers. They're teaching about 90 to 100% of the time. And as a teacher, we implement what we call the gradual release of responsibility, and we slowly wean off our support. But again, that takes more than just the volunteers. It takes plugging in what I do, plugging in a bunch of other resources to support this school so that we can progress them to a level where we're able to graduate them, where we can say with the school that a school can say to us actually that they no longer need our support, that their teacher can teach independently, that they have implemented a computer science program that is sustainable and that can last and can continue long after we are gone. But that's the whole goal of our program, that we're making sure that we're establishing sustainable computer science program and upscaling teachers who can teach it independently. And again, it takes more than one person to be able to run a successful program like that. And Steve, if there's any other questions or comments in the chat, thank you for real quick. Thank you for reading those out loud and asking them to me.
Sure.
So just going forward, a timeline, like I said, I'm reaching out to schools, educational stakeholders now to prepare them to apply and prepare for all the resources that we're gonna need to provide them so that when they start and when we start in August of the 23-24 school year. And so the work I'm doing with schools now, right now, our volunteers are in classes, supporting teachers, connected with resources that we started about a year ago, preparing and having meetings, having multiple touch points with these schools, superintendents, teachers, to make sure that when we got to this point, they're ready, and that could be a year-long process. Our application opens October 1st. If you do have anybody in mind who could use a computer science, who is thinking about establishing a computer science course, launching a computer science course, or maybe you are an alumni of a school that you feel like needs a computer science course, you can send my information to them and connect us. And again, it takes a long process to start preparing these schools and figuring out what do they need so we can support them in whatever they need, and making sure that as we're going throughout the year, when we get to that August school start of the year, August 23, that we're ready to go. That's about it.
Okay, I know we're running late, but there's a couple of people who are still online. That EJ, I don't know if you want to say anything about, EJ is with the Policy Center, the Native American Policy Center. And I don't know if you want to say anything quickly about how you might be able to help him.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I don't have anything right now, but I'll probably follow up if we have anything, any updates or anything like that.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thanks.
EJ.
Sounds good. And we definitely need to make some connections, which I talked to you about earlier, Reggie, with the Department of Ed. There's a couple of people who weren't on the call today, but we definitely need to connect you with them, as well as the Final Mile project with the excuse me, with the Arizona Rural Schools Association and several others. So I think we might be able to help you with addressing some of the broadband needs if you're still finding students who don't have connectivity.
Oh,
Yes.
hi, this is Shelby. I would love to get to learn more about your program, because I do have relationships with a lot of folks in on the tribal reservation, as well as some rural schools, because that's kind of a focal point of mine. So yeah, we're always looking for opportunities to expand computer science to some of these schools. Some of them are way ahead of others, some are way behind. So we're just, doing what we can to provide some resources to help them expand their curriculum. So that'd be great to learn more about your program.
Shelby, you want to just tell him quickly who you are?
Oh, I'm Shelby Brown. I'm the state E-rate coordinator. I work in conjunction with Mylan. So we do help schools with secure E-rate fundings and respond to questions in that respect. That's part of the USAC program. They can get funding for internet connectivity and network equipment. One of the projects there's a couple of projects Mylan has started as well in the last few years, and that was bringing fiber to schools. And also the Final Mile is extending fiber to student homes. So there is, one school on the reservation that is in the midst of expanding internet to home. So it's very exciting to see this work come to light and whatnot. But for me, I am a native, I'm Navajo. So I am quite familiar with the culture, the lifestyle, but also I've been visiting schools and have found, there's a lot of help that they need with technology, but also, like I said, there's a big discrepancy in terms of some schools are way ahead and some schools are way behind. So I'm just trying to find ways to bridge those gaps and bring everybody together to kind of educate on best practices in terms of IT.
Yeah, and we want to be where we're needed, right? And we've definitely talked to schools that don't need us. And we'll communicate that. And if you know anybody who needs us, who is not at the level that some other schools are, please plug us in, because we're about supporting those who need us the most, those who are most impacted by by the digital divide. So I'm happy to be connected. So thank you.
So, and Janet, I see you're still online. I don't know if you're still there, but But Reggie Janet is, which you may have picked up, is with the Arizona telemedicine program. And they have a lot of connections around the state, including on the reservations. And I see Mala has her hand up. Mala?
Yes, Reggie, I do what Shelby does for libraries. I do with the, what she does for schools, I do for libraries. Get them plugged to the internet, make sure they get the funding. And as well as work with the ACP and the ECF programs to ensure that through the libraries, we are giving patrons who are not students, who don't get those devices from schools, we're giving them the devices and the access through the hotspots. So many of them we find, when we say we have hotspots to lend, want to know what hotspots are. What can we do with them? And why do I need internet? Or, things like that. And of course, the libraries are working, as Janet pointed out, too, with telemedicine. So if they do not have any devices or internet access at home, they can come to the library and then connect to their service provider, their doctors. And, some of the libraries, the two libraries in Pima County, we are doing a pilot project with. You must have heard through the morning presentations, updates that we're doing this with Ajo and Arvaka libraries. And hopefully we will be able to, use the results of this to do it with the other libraries as well. I know Corey, who was with us, has dropped off. He is the library director of Yavapai County, and they are doing a lot of work in the area of getting broadband to homes. Nice. And to educate library folks, the library patrons, on how they can use the internet and how it would help them in whatever way they need the help in. Could be, it could be doing business, it could be selling whatever products they make through Etsy or anything else. It could be for health purposes. It could be just to connect with their schools, children's teachers, to see how their kids are doing. So all of that and more. So happy to connect with you and to see how we can take it forward with libraries as well.
Thank you, and I'd be happy to connect with you too, because that's the other side of digital citizenship. And oftentimes we focus so much on students, which we need to be doing, but it's also focusing on parents and teaching them about the technology that their students are using, right, to connect with students. When I was a teacher, that was teaching parents how to use Google Classroom, how to use Zoom, how to use all these resources that our school is now able to offer them, so they can learn and be a participant of their students' learning journey.
So I'm sorry, Reg. So one last thing, I'm going to pick on Kelly Green. Are you still online?
Yeah.
You beat me to it, Steve.
Yeah, I'm here.
Go STEM Queen.
So Kelly, you want to just talk to him quickly about, what you're doing? Maybe, I don't know if he's familiar with the.
Oh yeah, we partner with Reginald already. So
okay.
We're good friends.
Kelly's how we got hooked up with Reggie, Steve.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. So does anybody have anything else? Should we end for today?
Well, I think let's let Kelly finish and chime in on how, in a lot of ways, the SciTech Institute's a hub for a lot of these spokes. So Kelly, why don't you go ahead and expand a little bit?
Sure. We've been on quite a bit, and I think most of the people on here we've actually connected with in the past, but I would love to let everybody know, if they're not aware, that SciTech Institute is the Arizona statewide ecosystem for STEM learning opportunities from 0 to 103. So the idea of getting everybody connected and understanding how to utilize the tools is an excellent opportunity for us to work together and share resources. So if you are not connected with us, please reach out. We would love to work with you on, really getting you interacting with the right people to help make your goals a success. So thanks, Kirk. Thanks for
Reggie, it's good to see you, and more to come.
And maybe just a little bit more on the CSO program, just a little bit more.
Sure. The Chief Science Officers are 6th through 12th grade STEM ambassadors on their school campuses or in their community. We have some that are based out of the Science Vortex in the Verde Valley, and they are the ambassadors for learning and using everything that we're talking about today, because we are not the individuals that grew up with the technology in our hand. The students really advocate for training the trainer and being able to be the liaison between opportunity and access better than the adults. So if you do not have Chief Science Officers in your area, let us know. We would love to train 6th through 12th graders to help reach those goals and reach those students more efficiently.
So Kelly, I'd like to offline, we don't need to do it right now, is to talk about the summit you got coming up and how we can use that to get out information about the work we're doing.
We have a spot for you on
Absolutely.
we have a spot for you on this table already, Steve.
Oh, cool.
September 27th, mark your calendars, get your tickets.
So yeah, we're going to put some AZBSN stuff on the 7x24 sponsored table with the data center guys. Another reason why in some of these things, I know we want to rush and get done, but sometimes we're better off, seeing it all the way through so that people that do have the time to go back and can connect all these dots. And there's a lot of dots to connect in the Microsoft space. I don't know if you're familiar with the data center, but I don't think there's anything that we do that's not going through a data center. And their data center folks are the guys with the biggest checkbooks at times. Reggie can probably attest to this when it comes to funding a lot of these pro bono and community type programs, even though another group inside of Microsoft might be the focal point for, in fact, administering them and the liaison and the bridge for Microsoft. The data center guys are becoming a lot of the hub to, funding a lot of these other opportunities, and connecting all those dots is going to be awesome in the years to come for this group and digital inclusion in general.
So Kirk, it would be helpful, again, we can do this offline, but to, I don't know that we have anybody from the data centers, from Microsoft data centers, who's been involved with this, and perhaps we should do that. And again, I'm thinking that, as I said, there's a lot of Microsoft related stuff that's happening, particularly in the digital inclusion space. And so maybe, as I said, maybe after the holiday, that we might just really dedicate a good amount of time to continue this discussion with Reggie and the other folks from Microsoft that we've been in touch with.
Yeah, we just had their chief big boys. We just hosted their biggest of big boys at the 7x24 lunch forum a couple days ago at ASU. So, and they're building Microsoft academies with community colleges all over the place. They're also on our iMasons group with the university academy. So yeah, we can definitely, they're kind of already involved indirectly through us, through me, through 7x24. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities there. Another reason why sometimes we just take the opportunity to finish these things and let Reggie finish. Yeah. So it's awesome. It's awesome. And
okay.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you, Reggie. Very much for presenting.
Thanks, Reggie. Reggie, did you send me yet? If you could send me your presentation, because we also share that with everybody.
Thank you, Kirk. And yeah, I'd be happy to reach out to my colleagues at the data center, see if anyone would be available whenever you have the opportunity to host one of them to present about how they're supporting the community. And then yes, I'll follow up with that presentation.
Sounds great. Thanks, Reggie. And thanks for presenting today. And wow, what a meeting. So much stuff happening in the state. And as I mentioned to you, Reggie, we got a lot of folks that I'm sure want to partner with you. What you can give to them, what they can give to you. So I hope this was a good start for you.
It definitely was, Steve. Thank you again so much for this opportunity. And I'm excited to see who we can connect with to support our schools and support our state.
Sounds good. Okay. So thank you all, and we'll see you next week, not the week after. Okay, bye everybody.